There are encounters that seem written in the stars, moments when two gazes meet and, without a single word, the world around falls silent. As if time stands still, something invisible pulses between two hearts, a deep, ancient recognition, as if they had always been searching for each other through the labyrinths of life. Have you ever felt this strange familiarity, as if destiny were whispering, "It's here, it's now"? Where does this sense of belonging come from, this almost magical, inexplicable fit? Could it be that, deep down, each soul carries the imprint of another, patiently waiting for the moment of reunion? Jung invites us to look beyond mere chance, to realize that these bonds are not just coincidences, but perhaps the reflection of something greater, a secret dance between our unconscious and the universe. And you, have you ever experienced something like this? Do you think that someone, somewhere, was made exactly for you? Where are you watching from? Share your story with us in the comments. We live in a time when everything seems to be just a touch away, yet paradoxically, the sense of emptiness spreads like a silent mist among us. We look for company in timelines, seek approval in likes, and even so, we carry a longing that we can't quite name. It's as if the whole world were crowded with voices, but inside us, there hangs a deep, almost deafening silence. Our encounters are quick, superficial, as if we were all in a hurry to get nowhere. And even when we are surrounded by people, we often feel that no one truly sees us. This dilemma is not just yours, nor is it just mine. It's a collective symptom, a portrait of our time. We are exhausted from pretending, from hiding our true face behind social masks, from fearing that if we show who we are, we'll be rejected or misunderstood. The weariness from shallow relationships, from conversations that never go beneath the surface, piles up until we start to wonder, does anyone, anywhere, feel the same? Is this search for belonging an ancient need, engraved in all of us? Deep down, there seems to be a gentle, nearly forgotten call to wake from a deep sleep. A desire to rediscover something we lost along the way, perhaps the courage to look into one another's eyes, or to recognize in others a part of ourselves. This restlessness that runs through us is more than longing, it's an invitation to remember who we are, to seek that which truly connects us. If these words touched something inside you, take a deep breath and allow yourself to reflect. How have the connections in your life been? Share in the comments if you also feel this call. And if you want to keep exploring these ideas with me, subscribe to the channel. Let's go together on this quest. Imagine, for a moment, Carl Jung walking alone by the edge of a silent lake, where the mist covers everything except his own reflection in the water. There, he felt that the human soul is so much more than what we see on the surface. There is a vast universe within each of us, made of unlived dreams, guarded silences, stories that have inhabited us since before we could speak. Jung called this place the unconscious, but for him, it was not just a repository of darkness. It was a fertile field where the seeds of our true self rest, waiting for a moment of light. It is in this invisible place that the longing we feel in our chest is born, that silent search for something or someone that makes sense, that makes us whole. Why is it that, amidst so many faces, some glances touch us so deeply? Why does the presence of certain people make our inner world vibrate, as if a long-forgotten note is finally echoing back? Jung suggested that we are not drawn to each other by chance. Every significant encounter is like a whisper from our soul, a sign that something within us wants to be seen, recognized, healed. Those people who cross our path, awakening memories, longings, or even discomforts, are there to illuminate parts of us that we resist seeing. They are not random events, but living invitations for us to come closer to what is most authentic and precious within ourselves. When someone appears and causes an inner upheaval, it is not just chemistry or coincidence. It is as if life, through this meeting, opens a door for us to see more deeply, feel more truly, become more whole. Some people come to wake us up, others to challenge us. But all, without exception, are pieces of this great mystery that drives us to seek, to grow, to transform ourselves. And, perhaps, to finally recognize ourselves. When someone is made for you, you will know, and here's why. Vulnerability. This word, so often misunderstood, does not mean weakness or abandonment, but rather the beginning of a process of liberation. It's like opening a window after years of it being locked, allowing fresh air to circulate, dust to settle, and light to reveal what has always been there, but which, out of fear, we preferred to hide. Instead of being an act of surrender, being vulnerable is a gesture of courage, removing the armor, letting go of the masks, and allowing the world to see not what we imagine they expect from us, but who we truly are. At first, there is discomfort. Revealing what's been hidden for so long is like feeling the cold wind on newly uncovered skin. Old defenses, automatic smiles, carefully chosen words, they all begin to fall away. And it is in this exposed space that something new begins to grow, a feeling of lightness, authenticity, a sense of belonging to oneself. Transformation does not happen suddenly, but in small gestures and silences, in the courage to admit fears and unspoken dreams. Each layer of protection that falls is like the peel of a fruit that, once removed, reveals its hidden sweetness. The process is continuous, because being vulnerable is a daily practice, a constant invitation to look at oneself with honesty and to allow oneself to feel. It is not about a single moment of overcoming, but about a consistent choice to hide no longer. By embracing your own vulnerability, you create space for authentic relationships, for encounters that are no longer superficial but that touch the soul. And on this path, the courage arises to face the next challenge, the one that will demand even more surrender, even more trust. Now, with the certainty that each layer left behind brings the protagonist closer to their essence, the future becomes an open field, ready to be explored with an unguarded heart. Then, someone arrives. It doesn't always come like a lightning bolt, sometimes it's an almost banal encounter, a glance that lingers a second longer, a phrase spoken without intention, a gesture that touches where no one else ever reached. But suddenly, it's as if, inside you, an ancient door opens, creaking, and the cold air of the unknown invades everything. It's not welcoming. It's unsettling. It's like seeing your own reflection in a mirror that both distorts and reveals everything you tried to hide from yourself at the same time. This is the alarm clock. The catalyst. This person or situation arrives like a storm on a clear day, toppling certainties, shaking the secure ground of your defenses. At their side, old wounds throb, insecurities find a voice, buried desires begin to whisper. Fear shows up, disguised as irritation, as resistance, as escape. You feel the urge to pull away, to return to the safety of your old masks, to deny that anything has changed. But there is an invisible magnet there, pulling you toward the abyss of yourself. The discomfort grows. You wonder why this person sees you this way, why they provoke reactions you didn't even know existed. It feels unfair, even cruel, to be exposed like this. But there is a light in this confrontation. It's the chance to see yourself fully, without censorship, without protection. The alarm clock allows no half-truths. It forces an encounter with what is most real and most frightening in you. And on this threshold, a choice is born. You can flee to the old safety, close the door, and deny the call. Or you can cross over, with an open heart, accepting that this discomfort may be the beginning of your deepest transformation. Every fiber of your being hesitates, but the path is set. Either you embrace the awakening, or you remain a prisoner of what no longer serves you. When night falls within me and all the lights in the world seem distant, it's impossible to ignore the weight of what I carry. I try to convince myself that it isn't so serious, that I can move on without looking back, but the truth asserts itself like a shadow that lengthens with each step. The more I run away, the more intense it becomes. The fear of being rejected, the feeling of never being enough, the memories of failures I insist on burying, all of these rise before me like a fogged-up mirror, reflecting only distorted fragments of who I am. The urge to put on old masks almost overtakes me, to be strong, to be indifferent, to be invulnerable. But now I realize that each mask weighs more than any truth. My chest tightens, a knot in my throat threatens to erupt in unspoken words, in tears held back for years. The internal storm rages, chaotic, trying to convince me that it's better to retreat, that it's too dangerous to dive into this abyss. I wonder if I am worthy of love, if I will ever be able to overcome the shame and the doubt that surround me like invisible bars. I want to close my eyes, pretend it doesn't hurt, but the moment calls for courage. At last, I understand that the darkness is not the end, it is the invitation. I don't need to defeat my demons, but rather recognize them, integrate them, understand that they are part of me. What was once terror is now possibility. Accepting my vulnerability is the first gesture of self-love I have ever truly allowed myself. This is the beginning of healing. By choosing to face what I fear most, I take a decisive step toward my truth. The night may be long, but, by accepting it, I begin to see, deep down, the promise of a new dawn. Something changes inside me. What was once a silent battle now transforms into a gentle conversation. For the first time, I no longer see my darkness as a threat, but as a forgotten part of myself, waiting to be heard. My fears, once so frightening, lose their monstrous faces and acquire human contours. They are simply fragments of a story I once sought to deny, marks that prove I have lived. Resistance gives way to acceptance. I see that my flaws, my failures, and insecurities are not cracks that break me, but grooves that make me unique. What I always tried to hide, I now embrace with tenderness. I realize that there is no light without shadow, no strength without vulnerability. What I once rejected in myself starts revealing itself as a source of creativity, courage, and empathy. I allow myself a moment of compassion. I offer myself the forgiveness I so long denied. I welcome my imperfections as one would welcome a frightened child, with patience, understanding, and care. I discover that true peace is born not from the absence of inner conflict, but from the respect and integration among all my sides. I no longer try to eliminate my shadow, I give it a seat at the table. I know that, rather than weakening me, it can strengthen me. This integration doesn't erase my mistakes or scars, it transforms them into fuel to grow, to create, and to genuinely connect with others. I feel a calm like never before, as if I could finally breathe freely. The pursuit of perfection loses its meaning in the face of the wholeness of being complete. Now, with clarity, I realize, I am not scattered fragments, but a whole being. Ready to move forward, guided by the peace that only self-knowledge can bring. There is a moment when inner silence transforms into serene clarity. After the storm, when chaos no longer echoes so loudly, the first ray of light appears. What was once shadow and uncertainty now becomes fertile ground for a new beginning. You feel as if you are leaving behind an old, heavy, and tight skin, finally able to breathe fully. It's not that the scars disappear, they remain, but now they are marks of learning, no longer open wounds. They tell your story, but they do not define it. The emptiness that once seemed an abyss now reveals itself as space, space to grow, to create, to be. You realize you no longer need to hide your imperfections. On the contrary, it is within them that your most authentic strength resides. Everything that was once fragments, pain, silence, now integrates into a mosaic of meaning. The fear that once immobilized you dissolves in the face of the courage to be whole, in the surrender to what is real. Transformation doesn't come as a sudden flash, but as a gentle dawn. You walk, step by step, discovering a new steadiness in your stride. The past does not disappear, but it no longer dictates your rhythm. The future doesn't frighten you, for each day, you reinvent yourself. This rebirth is a silent commitment to your own truth, a promise to keep going even when the road vanishes into the mist. Now, you feel it is possible to trust, to open up, to connect. Peace is not the absence of conflict, but the serene acceptance of who you are. And with this certainty, you prepare yourself for what is to come, knowing that your journey of growth never ends, but that, with each cycle, you are reborn stronger, more whole, and more yourself. The moment has arrived when silence weighs more than any word, and life seems to hold its breath in the face of what is about to happen. I stand before an invisible threshold, feeling the familiar ground falling away behind me, while ahead lies an unknown territory made of intertwined promises and doubts. Behind me remain the old certainties, the old roles, the masks that for so long served as shelter. There's a flutter in my stomach, Fear whispers reminders of everything that could go wrong, of all that could be lost. But there's also a new pulse, a gentle flame growing in my chest, telling me that I am no longer who I once was. Every step up to this point has been a dance between light and shadow, a hard-won lesson in welcoming who I truly am, with all my imperfections and scars. Now, at this pivotal moment, I realize that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to keep walking even while trembling. I feel the weight of the unknown, but also the relief of carrying only what is essential, my truth, my authenticity, my desire to grow. I take a step forward, as if crossing an invisible bridge. It is not an escape from the past, but a celebration of what I've learned. The future is still a misty, uncertain field, but I accept that there are no guarantees. What exists is the willingness to go on, to reinvent myself, to find meaning in the movement itself. I walk with an open heart, knowing that transformation does not end here. It is a constant companion, an invitation to perpetual new beginnings. In this moment, all I can do is trust. Trust that, by embracing uncertainty, I make space for the new to bloom. And so, I move forward, heart awakened, ready to discover who I can still become. The sky opens in gold and blue, and the morning air seems to carry fresh promises. For the first time, I take a deep breath without the old weight on my chest. The past still lives in me, but now it is fertile seed, no longer a prison. I feel a tranquil clarity, as if every cell in my body has finally found its place after a long night of estrangement. The fear that once shaped my steps now dissolves like mist in the sun. I see the path ahead not as a threatening challenge, but as fertile ground on which to plant who I truly am. I look back and see the distance between who I was and who I am now. Once, uncertainty was my only companion. Today, confidence pulses silently in my veins. The masks have fallen, and the emptiness I so feared now reveals itself as open space for the new to bloom. What was once a wound has become a scar that tells my story, not as a mark of pain, but as a symbol of overcoming. I finally understand that my purpose does not need to be sought outside. It springs from an honest meeting with myself, from embracing my imperfections, from the courage to be whole even amid the unfinished. I feel like a bird that, after breaking the last link of the chain, discovers it has always known how to fly. There is no triumphalism, only peace, a mature serenity that acknowledges both the light and the shadows. The horizon remains open, full of possibilities. I know the journey does not end here, but now I walk ahead certain that I can turn every new beginning into meaning, every challenge into opportunity, every moment into a life fully lived.